Historical records, author, Sima Qian. Production by Liang Gu, 12 historians, Chronicles of the Five Emperors. Huang Di, surnamed Gongsun and named Xianyuan, was the son of Xiaodian. He was born with magical powers. He could speak when he was young and became smart and agile when he grew up. In the era of Huang Di, the power of Shennong declined. The princes invaded each other and the people suffered, but Shennong could not suppress them. Therefore, Huang Di began to learn to use force to quell the chaos, and all the princes came to join him. But Qi Yu was the most ferocious, and no one could defeat him. Emperor Yan also wanted to invade other princes, but all the princes surrendered to Huang Di. The Yellow Emperor then cultivated virtues and organized the army, governed the 5 elements, planted 5 grains, appeased the people, governed the 4 directions, and trained bears, tigers, and other beasts in order to fight Emperor Yan in the wilderness of Banquan. After 3 battles, Huang Di finally achieved his goal. Qi Yu refused to obey the emperor's orders in troubled times. Therefore, Huang Di gathered the princes and fought a decisive battle with Qi Yu in the wilderness of Zhuolu, and finally captured and killed Qi Yu. Therefore, all the princes respected Huang Di as the son of heaven. Inheriting the status of Shennong, this is the Yellow Emperor. When there was instability in the world, the Yellow Emperor went to conquer it. After it was settled, he left, opened up mountain roads, and never settled down. Huang Di went to the sea in the east, climbed up Wanshan Mountain, and reached Daizong, went to Kongtong in the west, climbed up to Chicken Head. Go to Jiangshui in the south, ascend to Xiong and Xiang, drive to the north to meet Pushan, and set the capital at Zhuolu. He moved erratically and used the army as his camp and guard. His official positions were all named after Yun, and he was called Yunshi. He established the left and right supervisors to oversee the nations. After the peace of all nations, ghosts, gods, mountains, and rivers were also enshrined in Zen. He obtained the treasure tripod, welcomed the sun and moon, and recommended Feng Ho, Limu, Changxian, and Dahong to govern the people. He complies with the laws of heaven and earth, understands the meaning of life and death, manages natural disasters, sows crops and trees, and transforms birds, beasts, insects, and moths. The sun, the moon, the stars, the water, the earth, the stone, the gold, and the jade are everywhere. He strives to manage resources and has the auspiciousness of earth virtue, so he is called the Yellow Emperor. Huang Di had 25 sons, 14 of whom received surnames. Huang Di lived in Xianyuan Hill and married a woman from Xiling. His name is Leizu. Leizu was the wife of the Yellow Emperor and gave birth to 2 sons, both of whom later became emperors. One was named Xianshao, who became Qingyang and lived in Jiangshui. The other was named Changyi and lived in Ruoshui. Changyi married a woman from the Shushan clan named Changpu. Gao Yang was born, and Gao Yang was virtuous. After the death of Huang Di, he was buried in Shaoshan. His grandson Gao Yang succeeded him as Emperor Zhuanxu. Emperor Zhuanxu Gao Yang was the grandson of Huang Di and the son of Changyi. He is smart, resourceful, and knowledgeable. He masters the materials to adapt to the geography. Make use of the current situation to resemble the sky, rely on ghosts and gods to formulate laws, educate the people, and offer sacrifices sincerely. His territory extends to Yuling in the north, Jiaozhi in the south, Lusha in the west, and Panmu in the east. All moving and still things, gods and goddesses, and everything illuminated by the sun and moon, are all without their belonging. Emperor Zhuanxu had a son named Xiongchan. After Zhuansu died, Xian Zhao's grandson Gao Xian succeeded to the throne. This was Emperor Ku. Emperor Ku Gaoxin was the great-grandson of the Yellow Emperor. His father's name is Shiji, Shiji's father is Xian Shao, and Xuanxiao's father is Huang Di. Since Xian Shao and Shiji failed to succeed to the throne, it was not until Gao Xian that he ascended the throne. Gao Xian was a clan relative to Zhuansu. He is naturally smart, has miraculous talents, is good at giving, and is not selfish. Wise and far-sighted, he understands God's will and cares about the needs of the people. He is kind and majestic, generous and trustworthy, and cultivates his moral integrity to make the world stable. Gaoxin manages the land, uses resources sparingly, appeases the people, pays attention to solar terms, is aware of ghosts and gods, and respects etiquette. His demeanor is dignified, his virtues are high, and his behavior and dress are in line with etiquette. Emperor Ku is respected throughout the world. He is obeyed wherever the sun and moon shine, and wherever the wind and rain come. Emperor Ku married the daughter of the Qinfeng family and gave birth to Fengshuan. He married the daughter of the Kozi family and gave birth to Ji. After Emperor Ku died, Ji succeeded him, but Ji performed poorly. So his younger brother Fengshuan succeeded to the throne, and this was Emperor Yao. Emperor Yao immediately released his honors. He is as kind as heaven and as wise as God. Treat him like looking at the sun and moon, and evaluate others like looking at clouds. He is rich but not proud, noble but not indulgent. He is dressed simply. Ride a simple carriage and horse. He can be kind to others and get close to the 9 tribes. When the 9 tribes are in harmony, the people will be stable. The people are at peace, and the princes from all over the world respect him. Emperor Yao ordered Shi and He to respect and obey God's will, follow the laws of the sun, moon, and stars, and teach the people how to live. He assigned Shizhong to Yanggu, who lived in Yui, to be responsible for regulating sunlight. He assigned Uncle Shi to Nanjiao, to be responsible for regulating the south. He assigned Hezhong to Shitu, to be responsible for sunset. He assigned Uncle He to the north, to be responsible for regulating winter. They all arrange the seasons and allocate work according to the weather. There are 365 days every year, plus leap months to adjust the 4 seasons, rectify the officials, and carry out various tasks. Yao said, "Who can handle this matter smoothly?" Fang Qi recommended Danzhu, but Yao felt that he was not suitable. Yao asked again, "Who can?" Hui Dou recommended Gonggang, but Yao thought that Gonggang's words were clever, but in reality he was unreliable. Yao asked again, "Is there anyone in the four mountains who can control floods?" Everyone said that Gun could do it, so Yao decided to use Gun. But Gun failed to control the floods and the people were uneasy. Therefore, Shun requested that Gonggang be exiled to Yuling, Fangdo be exiled to Chongshan, Sanmiao be moved to Sanwei, and Gun be executed in Yushan. After the four unworthy people were dealt with, the world returned to peace. After Yao had reigned for 70 years, he handed over government affairs to Shun in his old age. Shun began to manage the emperor's government affairs. Shun commanded the 7 political affairs on the jade scale, acted according to the destiny, worshipped the mountains and rivers, offered sacrifices to the gods, chose auspicious days to carry out various activities, clearly observed the virtues of the officials, and implemented virtuous acts. Every year, he patrols the 4 directions and east for hunting and hunting. The Southern Hunting Patrol, the Western Hunting Patrol, the Northern Hunting Patrol, all places are stable. After returning, he made sacrifices to the ancestral temple and went on hunting tours as scheduled. Shun rectified the officials, promulgated laws, implemented criminal laws, governed the people, and appeased all parties. At that time, the Gaoyang family had 8 talented people, who were called 8 Kais. The Gaoxin family has 8 talented people, who are called 8 Yuan. These 16 tribes are full of talented people and have outstanding reputations. When Yao arrived, Yao had not yet been able to recommend him. Shun recommended Bakai and made them responsible for the management of Ho-Tu. He recommended Baiyuan and made them responsible for preaching. Cultivate oneself, manage one's family, govern the country and bring peace to the world. Once upon a time, Emperor Hong's family had an untalented son who behaved viciously, and everyone called him Chaos. Shaochuan's family had an untalented son, who was hypocritical and evil, and he was called Cheongqi. Zhuanxu's family had an untalented son who was called Cheongqi. His son, who could not be taught a lesson, was called. These groups are worried. Yao dealt with these 4 groups and moved them to the fringes of the 4 directions to avoid harming the people and pacify the people. Eventually, Yao passed the throne to Shun. Yu Shun was also called Chonghua. His father's name is Gusu, and Gusu's father's name is Qiaonyo. Qiaonyo's father is Juwang. Juwang's father is Jingkang, Jingkang's father is Cheongchan, Cheongchan's father is Zhuanxu, and Zhuanxu's father is Changyi. Counting from this time, Shun's family has been passed down for 7 generations. From Cheongchan to Shun, they have always belonged to the common people. Shun's father Gusu was blind. After Shun's mother died, Gusu remarried and gave birth to Shun's younger brother Xiang. Xiang has a proud temperament, and Gusu prefers Xiang, the son of his stepwife. He often wants to kill Shun, but Shun always runs away. If there are some small mistakes, Shun was punished. Despite this, Shun was still filial to his father, stepmother and younger brother, acting cautiously every day and never slacking off. Shun was from Jizhou. He farmed in Lishan, fished in Luais, made pottery by the river, and made various utensils in Shouqiu. His father was stubborn, his mother was violent, and his younger brother was arrogant. They all wanted to kill Shun. However, Shun always abided by filial piety and tried to be harmonious among his brothers. They tried to kill Shun several times, but failed. Instead, they found that Shun was always by their side. When Shun was 20 years old, he was famous for his filial piety. When he was 30 years old, Emperor Yao asked who could succeed him, and all the princes in the Four Mountains recommended Shun. So Yao married his 2 daughters to Shun to observe his character, and let 9 sons live with Shun to examine his external performance. During Shun's stay in Guerue, he acted more cautiously. Yao's 2 daughters never disrespected Shun's relatives because of their high status, and strictly abided by women's ethics. Yao's 9 sons also became closer to Shun. Shun farmed in Lishan, and the people of Lishan gave their fields to him. He fished in Loais, and the fishermen in Loais gave him their fishing land. He made pottery by the river, and the pottery he made was from not crude. Within 1 year, many people gathered in the place where Shun lived. In the 2nd year, a village was formed, and in the 3rd year, it became a town. So Yao gave Shun fine linen clothes and a harp, built a granary for him, and gave him cattle and sheep. Gusu still wanted to kill Shun. So he asked Shun to climb onto the roof of the granary, while Gusu set fire to the granary below. Shun used 2 bamboo hats to block the flames, jumped down and escaped. Later, Gusu asked Shun to dig a well. When Shun dug the well, he dug a side hole in advance and waited until the well was deep. Gusu and Xiang filled the well with soil, but Shun escaped through a side hole. Gusu and Xiang thought Shun was dead and said happily, "This is Xiang's plan." Xiang divided Shun's property with his parents and said, "Shun's wife and harp belong to me, and the cattle, sheep, and granary belong to my parents." Xiang then moved into Shun's house and played the harp. When Shun came back to see Xiang, Xiang said awkwardly and uneasily, "I really hope Shun is alive." Shun smiled and said, "Yes, you will be fine." After that, Shun still served Gusu cautiously and loved his younger brother Xiang. Then Yao decided to test Shun's talents and asked him to manage the 5 codes and hundreds of officials. As a result, all departments were managed well. In the past, there were 8 talented people in the Gaoyang family, who enjoyed a high reputation from generation to generation. People called them the 8 Kai. The Gaoxin family also had 8 talents, and the world called them 8 Yuan. These 16 families have been passed down from generation to generation and have outstanding reputations. When Yao was in power, he failed to recommend them in time. After Shun took office, he appointed Ba Kai to be responsible for governing the land and managing various affairs. He appointed Ba Yuan to spread the 5 teach, educate the people that fathers should be righteous, mothers should be kind, brothers should be friendly, and children should be filial. Once upon a time, Emperor Hong's family had an unworthy son who behaved viciously. People in the world called him Chaos. Xiaochong's son's faith was corrupted, and people all over the world called him Qiongqi. Zhuanxiu's family had an untalented man. He cannot be taught, so people all over the world call him. These three tribes have long been a source of worry. When Yao arrived, he failed to eliminate them. The Jinyun family had an untalented man who was greedy by nature. People all over the world called him Tao Tai. People in the world hate them and compare them with the three evils. As the emperor, Shun exiled these four evil tribes and moved them to remote places to eliminate the trouble. From then on, there was peace in all directions and no evil people caused trouble. Shun went deep into the Great Lu Mountain and never lost his way in the fierce wind and thunderstorm. From this, Yao knew that Shun was capable of taking on the great responsibilities of the world. When Yao grew old, he asked Shun to act as the emperor's agent and to patrol all directions. Shun handled government affairs for 20 years, and Yao died. After 3 years of observing filial piety, Shun resigned Danzhu, but everyone in the world surrendered to Shun. Yu, Gaotao, Qi, Huji, Boi, Kuei, Long, Ju, Yi, Pengzu and other virtuous ministers were all appointed during the reign of Yao. Shun continued to let them do their jobs. Shun said to the princes of the Four Mountains, "Who can make great contributions to the country like Yao?" They all said, "Bo Yu can serve as Sikong and has outstanding achievements in water control." Shun said, "You, please continue to work hard to control the water and soil." Yu declined humbly. Shun encouraged him again and said, "Go and take up your responsibilities." Shun also said to Ho Ji, "The people of Li are in famine, so you must sow 100 grains." He said to Qi, "The people are not harmonious and the 5 ethics are not in harmony. You should educate the people and teach them the 5 moral principles." Shun said to Gaotao, "The barbarians are causing chaos and bandits are rampant. You should formulate criminal laws and govern the world." Shun appointed Shui as Gong Gong, responsible for all the work, Yi as Zhangyu, responsible for managing mountains, rivers and lakes. He also appointed Boi as Jizong, responsible for managing etiquette. Shun also appointed Kuei as Dianyu, who taught the people and made the musical harmony. Social stability. Shun evaluated officials every 3 years, promoted those who had merit and punished those who were incompetent. Significant progress was made in work everywhere. Shun's achievements in governing the country were widely praised, and people from all over the world belonged to him. The 22 ministers all successfully completed their respective responsibilities. Gao Tao served as Dali, responsible for justice, and the people were convinced and obeyed the law. Boi was responsible for etiquette, so that everyone in the society could be courteous and courteous. Chui served as an engineer, managing various crafts. It promoted the development of all industries. Yi was responsible for the post of Yu, managing the mountains, forests, and lakes, and developing natural resources. Qi was responsible for the post of Huji, responsible for agriculture, and the harvest of grains. Qi was responsible for the post of Situ, responsible for educating the people so that they could live in harmony. Long was responsible for reception foreign guests. People from far away came to worship. the 12 pastoralists were in charge of local affairs, and no one in the 9 states dared to disobey the government, but you had the greatest credit. He opened up 9 mountains, dredged 9 swamps, managed 9 rivers, and pacified Kyushu. It is just right for all regions to pay tribute to the central government on time. The scope of Yu's governance was as wide as 5,000 miles, even extending to remote places. The south pacified Jiaoji, the north pacified Beifa, and the west pacified the Shirong, Shiji, Tsusue, Di, and Chang. Beishan Rong and Shishan also surrendered, while Shengniaoyi was appeased in the east. People all over the world respected Emperor Shun's achievements. Therefore, you created the music of 9 moves, which attracted many exotic treasures, and even phoenixes flew to worship the virtuous people in the world. They all began in the era of Yu and Shun. When Shun was 20 years old, he was famous for his filial piety. When he was 30 years old, Yao elected him as his successor. 39 years after he took power, he died in the land of Kangwu while touring the south. His body was buried in Jiui Mountain in the south of the Yangtze River, which was later called Lingling. After Shun came to the throne, he went to visit his father Gusu in person. He was very respectful and behaved like a son. He also made his younger brother Xiang a prince. Shun's son Shangjuan was not virtuous enough, so Shun recommended Yu as his successor in advance. After Shun's death, he stayed in mourning for 3 years. Just as Shun had given up the throne to Yao's son, Yu also gave up the throne to Shun's son Shangjuan. The princes finally surrendered to Yu, and Yu officially succeeded to the throne of emperor. Yao's son Danzhu and Shun's son Shangjuan each had their own fiefs to worship their ancestors. They dress according to their status and observe rituals and music, but they are princes rather than subjects of the emperor. There is no power to dominate the world. From the Yellow Emperor to Shun and Yu, although they belonged to the same family, the countries they ruled had different titles to highlight their virtues. The Yellow Emperor's kingdom was named Yoxiong, and Zhuanqiu was named Gaoyang. Emperor Ku was called the Gaoxin family, Yao was called the Tao Tang family, Shun was called the Youyu family, and Yu was called the Xiahou family, with the surname Si. The agreement established the Shang dynasty, with the surname Zi. The abandonment established the Zhou dynasty, with the surname Ji. Tai Shigong said, "Many scholars admire the virtues of the 5 emperors, even though the 5 emperors were a long time ago." However, Shangshu only records the deeds after Yao. When many families tell the story of the Yellow Emperor, the writing is not elegant, and it is difficult for the scholar officials to tell it in detail. Zaiyu asks the virtues of the 5 emperors, handed down by Confucius and the family surnames of the 5 emperors. Confucian scholars sometimes failed to pass it on. I once went to Kongtong in the west, Zhuolu in the north, the Xi in the east, and Jianghuai in the south. I heard the local elders recount the deeds of Huangdi, Yao, and Shun. Although the customs were different, they were all related to ancient records. I checked spring and autumn, and Guoyu, which have clear records of the virtues and family names of the 5 emperors. I have not done any in-depth research, and everything I have seen and heard is not false. There are some omissions from the books, and occasionally they can be found in the legends. It is difficult for people who are not very studious and thoughtful to understand the